And we are back on a Monday night. Our double feature continues, and we are grateful that you're back with us. We are always grateful to welcome back old friends with us. Emphasis on friends. If I call her old, she will kill me. And she's threatened to deport me if I come down to the border. She said this white boy comes down, she's going to deport me. I don't know where she's going to deport me to. But Bianca Gracia, Latinos for America First. We have fun together. So if we get a little crazy with each other tonight, we go ahead and apologize for it. We've known each other a long time. She did me during the Periscope. We used to start out with the network we won't name tonight, but we fought a few battles on this internet. We fought some battles on that border. And it was such a pleasure to be with her back in 2019 and twice, and then we went to I was down there in 21 with Rolando, and that was when the world unraveled for all of us, and we were joking about the return of the Sith, the revenge of the Sith the last 4 years.
Revenge of the Sith.
But the Empire has been eradicated, and a new hope has arisen. Bianca Gracia, everybody, put some fire in that house for her, buddy. It's honestly, I'm just joking. It's so good to see you tonight. It really is. It's been a long time. And
it's going to be one of those nights, Chris. I just feel it.
I feel it too. I do too. And we're grateful that you're here. I do want to ask you a question. I know it used to be Latinos for Trump, and a lot of people that are here tonight probably was not here the last time you were with us, to be honest with you. And I want you to take just a few minutes at the start. Tell us about your organization, because it is important. It's fighting for America First values. And Bianca is in the Texas area. You ran. You were tried to run, and she had an election taken out from under her feet, stolen basically, again from the elite and the establishment. But tell us a little bit about Latinos for America First, because it's a great organization, and we are fully behind it, and we appreciate what you do with it. Tell us a little bit about that, and we'll get some other stuff here.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me on the McFiles War Room. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So, Latinos for America First actually was, I founded it in 2020 after our, President Trump didn't return to the White House. We originally are the original Latinos for Trump of 2016. And so we pretty much ran Latinos for Trump, the organization, all the way through 2020. And then, of course, we've been operating as Latinos for America First. And so, yes, we advocate for America First values, principles, policies. We pretty much get behind conservatives who will champion the policies that we believe in. So our organization has always, since 2016, has always concentrated on educating, engaging, and outreaching into areas that one dares not to go.
Yeah.
So, so we're known for that. We're kind of the pioneers of doing that type of outreach work that, typical party systems or typical, established organizations just don't do the work we do. So we've seen, obviously, because of our, work since 2016 and 8 years of work, we have seen an explosion of Hispanic conservatives, which I predicted would happen back in 2016. I predicted. I said if our Hispanic communities, Spanish communities, if they knew what they were voting for or what they were not voting for, it would change. If we just educated people, not necessarily told them you're Democrat or Republican, but if we just educated people on policies and said, okay, well, these are the people right here. This is what these people stand for this and these people stand for this. It would be a no-brainer on where they would fall. And so we tested out that theory and we kept being correct about it. And so, this is why Trump found himself having 46% of the Hispanic vote. And I do believe it's probably a little bit more than that. Here's something I've been now talking about, Chris, is that when you look at Hispanics' birth certificates,
right,
and you look at our race, it says we're white.
It's interesting.
And there's nothing else on our birth certificates. Okay, it just says we're white. So I really truly believe, Chris, that there are a lot of us who are Americans, right? We were born, raised second, third, fourth generations in. I believe we get tossed into the category of the white number. They use the number and they say this, this many whites came out, this many blacks, this many Asians, this many Hispanics.
Right.
I think that they do that. And I even remember at some point in time in the past asked the Pew Research Center, how do you get your numbers? How do you know how many Hispanics voted in whatever? And they said, well, they couldn't really answer me, to be honest. So I said, well, what numbers are you basing it off of? If we're categorized as white, where do you really toss us? Like, my vote, where does it go? Does it go in with a Hispanic vote or does it go in with a white vote? Because I'm technically based on, my birth certificate and everything else, it says I'm white. So does my vote count into the white percentage? Or are you counting? I mean, difference, you don't. And so I believe that there is truly a larger amount of Hispanics that have been voting conservative for a very long time, but nobody has addressed this at all. And so we don't have a box, Chris. We don't have a box. We're Americans, but we don't have a box. And the one thing that really, really gets under my skin is that the minute that look, at the end of the day, we are all Americans. Okay. No doubt. I mean, I don't deny that. I preach it. I am American. I'm an American Hispanic. Okay, not a Hispanic American. I'm an American Hispanic. But I am very proud of my culture. I'm very proud of my upbringing, where I come from. I embrace my culture. I will never forget my culture. I celebrate my culture. But I'm as an American. But here's the thing. Blacks have a box. Asians have a box. Asian Pacificans or Pacific have a box. The only people that don't have a box are Hispanics. So there is a box now, but it says white or non-white. So I'm sorry. Whoa. So that kind of goes with my thesis that we're category. I've even asked, listen, I've blown their mind, Mexicans, right, who are born in Mexico. I'm like, go look at your birth certificate. It says you're white. And they're like, no, I'm Mexican. And I'm like, okay, just go look at your birth certificate. They go get their birth certificate. No one's paid attention to this. They go look at their birth certificate. They're like, it says I'm white. And they get so angry. I'm like, hello, you were born in Mexico. And even your birth certificate says you're white. It doesn't even say you're Mexican. So we have a little issue there, right? And so it's kind of like, where do we fit in? Where do we fit in? The blacks get a box, and the minute that Hispanics start saying we want a box, everybody, even the blacks attack us. Oh, well, why do you got to make it about race? Well, you have a box.
Yeah.
You fought for your box, but we don't have a box. So how do you truly know what Hispanics really are doing, how we're voting, what we're really doing, if we don't even have a box? How do you track us if we're categorized as white? So it's kind of been one of my little initiatives, and I've been speaking out a little bit more of this. And so, what I was told, and this was very interesting, Chris, I didn't even know this until someone from the left, the left side, literally brought it to my attention, and they said, do you know why we're listed as white? And I said, why? They said, because in the 60s or whatever it was, 50s, 60s or whatever, LULAC, okay, left-wing LULAC, made a deal. They made a deal with the Americans because of segregation, right? They made a deal to categorize us as white because they didn't want us to be segregated. So, when that whole rhetoric was going around about reparations for black people,
I remember that. Yes.
Nope. If you go back and look at history and you read the signs, it said no Mexicans, or what was it? No blacks, no Mexicans, or no dogs, no Mexicans. Like, we were like the bottom of the totem pole. Like, I'm like, wait. If anybody deserves reparations, we should be making a big deal about it. Well, we don't, because we don't want hand-me-downs. We don't believe anybody owes us anything, right? So it's like insanity. I'm like, we were at the bottom. Dogs, it was like no blacks, no dogs, no Mexicans. We were like bottom of the totem pole. So LULAC didn't want us to be segregated on the buses, so they made that deal.
Interesting.
To include us in with white people. And so they said LULAC is the reason you don't have a box. I'm like, isn't that interesting? And now LULAC claims that they fight for Latino communities, and they fight for the Latino. I'm like, you didn't fight for Latino. You swept us under the rug. You literally, we don't have a box because you categorized us with white people because you didn't want to segregate it. Well, I get that. That's great at the time, but look at the ramifications now down the line. So, like, who tracks it? So we're white, okay? We're not really Hispanic. We're all white. So that's what I've been telling all these Latinos, and I'm like, guys, we're really white, and they get all upset. And I'm like, look at your birth certificate. You're white.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, Chris, I don't even know how I got on that.
No, it's fine. No, it's good. I mean, but that it's a good fight. I mean, because
it's
identity, it's education and it's identity, and it's very important. And look, I'm just going to go ahead. I lit a fire at the first show tonight. I mean, I think that they give a Black History Month. They give. They don't give us a White History Month. They don't give any other race that. And look, I'm not opposed to that. It's not. Well,
we do. We have a Hispanic.
But you have a Hispanic History Month, and I understand our culture, Bianca, has changed. Like, life has changed in America over the last 40 years. It's not the years of Reagan. We have come so far across the racial divide. It's not funny, but I do believe too that the left has hijacked this argument. They have made it about reparation. They make it that the only evil people in the earth are American white men, and that's right. Not true. And because I think that somebody, and look, we're both faith people, and look, somebody that's a Christian, somebody that really knows the Lord, because that term Christian is used in so many ways that it's not good. Just because somebody says they're Christian don't mean that they're acting like it. But I'm talking about somebody that knows Jesus. They're not going to have a racial bone in their body. They're not going to have any kind of racism in their heart. They're not going to do it. And they're not going to look at people and categorize people like people do and men do and governments do. So I think it's worth a discussion, and I'm glad your group does that.
But Chris, I think that it's okay to celebrate diversity.
Absolutely, it is.
It's okay. It's there. So we don't want to go where we go too far that we stop acknowledging diversity, and so I am loving that Trump has gotten rid of all this DEI stuff, right? And I'm loving that he's saying, hey, we are going to go back to merit.
Yes.
But we also have to remember, okay, so based on merit, we still need to make sure there's diversity, because you can't say blacks, Asians, and Hispanics are not smart enough to do a job that somebody else is, that you can't have one ethnic group outweighing the other, because I think that you still have a lot of people that are very intelligent people. You have to find the best of the best, and you shouldn't look at skin color, but you can't ignore it either.
I'll agree.
Right?
And
you have to find, there's a fine line and there's a balance of, do you hire the person just for the sake of saying you do have a Hispanic on the staff? Or do you hire the person because they're really qualified, and the plus is that they're Hispanic and they diversify you? Mm-hmm. So that's a plus, right? Oh, but this person can speak English and Spanish and maybe even another language. So it's a plus for me, because now not only do I have a qualified person, but I also have diversity in my workforce. So it's not something to be ashamed of. No. And we have to be careful that we do have a fine line, because what I don't want to see happen in this country is that we go back to where you just see blonde, blue-eyed people. Because, they're very intelligent, but so are some of the Asians, Indians, You know, we have some diverse. This is a melting pot America.
It is.
We can't forget that. You know,
and I think President Trump understands that too. I think that what he's pushing is that we are. I think that the pendulum has swung so far, Bianca, to the place that we were hiring people just strictly based on race, simply based on gender, simply
or transgender.
And
if you were transgender, you had a priority to get hired. But and forget about your qualifications.
I don't think he's going to go back and swing the pendulum so far away that just blonde, blue-eyed guys are going to be working. I don't believe that he will. I do want to bring on tonight one of the things I want to talk to you about, and we got other things we'll discuss, but the main focus, and we're going to get you back on this year a lot more. It's just good to have you tonight. But I do want to ask you about the border. You know Tom Holman. Tom has been down. You probably talked to him personally, and I think it was one of the best administrative hires, honestly, in the cabinet that Trump made.
He is the best at this job and was ready to go.
He was ready to go. Pete Hegseth right there with him, and they were down. I saw videos of the border the other day. And I've stood there with you all by that border wall that was basically left to rot after the Biden administration took over in 2020, or 21, I should say. But I do want to ask you how things have changed, because you're not quite in the Rio Grande Valley. You're north of there. But Rolando is, and we're going to be getting Rolando on in a week or so. But how has things changed in Texas? I know that
tremendously.
I put it like this: there's a new sheriff in town, but there's also a new deputy down in Texas called Tom Holman, and he's sort of kicking something and taking names, and he's not caring who cares about it. Is he not?
No, and crossings are down 90%, Chris.
Wow,
90%. So it is night and day. You know, and I think now, you know, the big thing is obviously this mass deportation. So this is the hot topic right now, is mass deportation. But Border Patrol agents feel like someone's got their back now. They're able to do their job as they always wanted to do. They just wanted to enforce the law. But the previous administration would not let them enforce the law. So they're back to enforcing the law. And so, I mean, it's night and day. It's night and day, just like that. And it's like the Biden administration said, we can't, shut the border. But Trump did it, and it looks like it's working. Now, the only people that are really upset about it is the cartels, obviously. So there's been a couple of, incidents that Border Patrol has put out there that, they've gotten in some kind of little battles with the cartels because they're not liking it. That's happened. But listen, immediately Trump sent down, our Marines.
Yes.
That came down, and they're loving that they can do their job as well. They're securing our border. Our national security was what we voted for. We didn't want this open border anymore. No one in any community wanted an open border. No one. And so here we are with it's like night and day, literally. I think we feel it in the community. We feel it. So now on the other end of that is the mass deportations, and so the Democrats are taking advantage of the optics. They're taking advantage of the talking points,
of course.
And it's like, first of all, you're mad because we have to come clean up your mess that you refuse to acknowledge.
True.
And take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
We're the bad people for coming in and taking care of your mess that you created. So help me wrap my head around that. But they're definitely fear-mongering in the community, in the church, in the schools, in definitely everywhere. Workforce, hospitals, everywhere, anything you can think of. They're literally, listen, 2 days ago, I got told by a school district, they said one school district sent out an alert that they'd gotten wind that ICE was doing checkpoints at like school bus stops. I'm like, I don't know if I buy in. I'm those are not the directives that have been coming down. So I'm like, okay, like, was there an incident maybe that they were looking for someone really bad that was picking up a child at a school bus? but they're not checkpointing and they're not raiding schools unless they're looking for a bad person. So I told people, I said, guys, calm down. If ICE goes anywhere, it's because there's a bad hombre there. So this is who they're looking for, is people who are obviously had deportation orders, who are terrorists, and who are really bad people that have criminal backgrounds that we don't want in this country, and no one should want in this country. Drug dealers, cartels, fentanyl pushers, whatever they are, these are the people that they're hunting down. But they're making it seem like they're just going anywhere and raiding all these, innocent places. So I got told 2 days ago, Chris, that this other school district said, it's been so horrible. I feel so bad for these parents. We do believe in enforcing the law, but they said just the fear that the parents are literally sending their kindergartners with their birth certificates in their backpacks every day at school.
Yeah, I do want to.
Come on.
I want to interject something here, and I want to ask you a question because you bring up a good point. But look, this is the way I look at it, and I want to get your take on this because I understand the bad guys. I understand the bad hombres. I understand the fentanyl. I get the deportations of the criminals. I believe what I'm hearing that Tom Holman has pretty much said, if you're here illegally, this anchor baby argument is to me a fallacy. Look, these people are coming over here having these kids, and they're using these youngins to basically stay here illegally, which is wrong to me. I am one of these. I'm a hardcore person about this illegal stuff. I have a lot of compassion. If I felt like that these people were coming over here for legitimate reasons, Bianca, I would be the first to tell you it's okay, but they would still need to get legal. And the way I look at it, if somebody is going to come, because the Hispanic community is as upset about this as we in the normal white community, all the other communities are, because see, most Hispanics that have come into this country legally, this is an offense to them. Mm-hmm. And my question to you tonight is that sentiment still there, that it's not just going to stop at the bad hombres, that he's going after anyone illegally. If you don't become legal, we're coming to get you. And look, I know people think that's harsh. I don't think it's harsh. You broke the law. Because
no, it's not. And so, Chris, I've tried to explain that to people as well. I said, look, priority right now is the criminals.
Without a doubt.
They've said that. Priority. So the nonsense of we're 2 weeks in and, ICE is raiding little kindergartners, is absurd. However, at the end of the day, I do tell people, okay, look, at the end of the day, illegal was illegal. So whether you did, whether you came to this country illegally and then you've broken no other law, but you did break the law coming here illegally.
Without a doubt.
You still broke the law. So I said, shame on the United States for not enforcing any of this for decades. So we have allowed this to happen. And every politician for 50 years has been sitting there saying, oh, we're going to fix illegal immigration. Oh, we're going to do this. Or we're going to do that. Or we're going to do this. And none of them ever did it. So finally, we have a commander-in-chief that says, no, we're going to do it. And it's done. So it's like, why are you upset at the fact that we now have a commander-in-chief who is actually doing what he said he was going to do, and we voted for him to do it? So it was an overwhelmingly mandate across the United States for him to get this done. So at the end of the day, priority-wise, yes, right now they're going after criminals, but if you get caught up and get caught, if you're illegal, you're still illegal. You still broke the law. You have to come to the realization that you broke the law. So I understand you're running around in fear, but you broke the law.
Exactly.
And so you got to face the reality. And one of my biggest things right now is with these pastors.
Come on.
Especially on the Hispanic evangelical, and because it's hitting our communities probably more than other communities right now. I literally had like someone from the Venezuela community was like, well, why are the Chinese not getting picked up? And it's just our people. And it's just our people. And they're very upset that it's our people. And I'm like, because they're going after the criminals. And who says they're not going after Asian? But here's the thing. So the faith community, this is so very interesting. The faith community is running around going, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, and they're coming after my flock, and I'm writing letters for them, and pastors feel that they have to go and they have to do something to save these people. And I'm like, okay, hold on. Let's step back here. And I had this conversation, and it was a harsh one, Chris. It was a really harsh one. But it had to be said. I'm sorry, it had to be said. And I said, okay, hold on, Pastor. I had this conversation with somebody, and I said, let me tell you something. You have been allowing people to have broken the law, and you were okay to harbor them knowing they broke the law.
Come on, buddy.
And they've been sitting in their pew forever and ever, and you never bothered to tell them that this was wrong. Like cheating on your husband is wrong. It's a sin. Like, I don't know, disobeying or dishonoring your mother and your father. Disobeying, it's a commandment. Thou shalt not steal. So, like, you were willing to ignore the fact that they broke the law.
So well said, buddy.
To save we're saving the people. Okay, but
Maybe not.
two wrongs don't make a right. So, Pastor, at the end of the day, you, as well as me and everybody else, allowed this to happen. We allowed it to happen and it's been going on for so long. But now we have someone who's saying we've got to do this the right way. So, one of my friends sent me this scripture. I want to say it was Ezekiel. I keep saying Ezekiel, and I don't know if it's Ezekiel, but I think it's Ezekiel. And she said, you got to read Ezekiel. Ezekiel talks about the Lord sending you back to your like land, right? And so I'm like, okay, in order for us to truly, we got a reprieve with Donald Trump. Okay, as people of God, Chris, this election was a reprieve. We prayed really hard. We worked really hard. Did. And we didn't want, I mean, it was do or die for us. Okay. So there was going to be no more church. There was going to be no more, our America was never going to be America
again. Exactly
right.
Right.
Kamala won. And we know that. And we fought for this. So the Lord gave us a reprieve, right? And we have the opportunity right now to make a lot of wrongs right in this country.
So true, babe.
Starting with all of this exposure of waste, fraud, corruption from the top. So December 15th, I asked the Lord, and I said, God, what do you want to tell me today? And he took me to Ezra 3:3, and he says, I'm going to rebuild my temple. And I said, wow, that's pretty profound, right? You're rebuilding the temple. Okay, cool. So I closed my Bible, and I said, I kind of let that, I read Ezra 3:3, and I kind of let it kind of just sit in my brain. And I said, God, what else do you want to tell me today? And I opened my Bible up, and he takes me to Psalm, I can't remember, 37 or 27, one of those. And it says, I'm rebuilding my temple, again, rebuilding my temple with, don't quote me because it's I'm so bad at this, but it's like rebuilding my temple with law and order, right? So I read
Justice.
With justice. And I'm like, I mean, it's too profound. Now it's like, this is the same day. And I'm sitting there, Chris, and I'm going, okay, God, you've made it very, very clear that you've given us a reprieve and you're going to rebuild the temple. So I close my Bible and I look at because my son and I are both, I mean, he's my witness. And he's like freaking out because he's like, wow, like this is real, Mom. Like God said he's rebuilding the temple. And then God says you must rebuild the temple with law and order, right? So, and justice, right? And the foundation of law and order. So I close the Bible and I look at my son and he says, do you want to ask the Lord something else, Mom? And I said, I don't know, do you? And he says, no, why don't you ask the Lord? and I thought in my head and I said, just for grins, right? I mean, because I'm kind of like, I push the needle with God. I'm always like pushing the needle. So I said, well, God, what happens if we don't rebuild the temple with law and order?
That's a good point.
I kind of put it out there, right? So I open my Bible up. I just reopen it. And it takes me to Zechariah 1. And I'm reading it, and it's like, I will wipe man's face off the earth, basically. I was like, well, and I thought, this was like, God couldn't have been much more clear about what his expectations are for this country in this season that Trump is now calling the golden era. So later on, I'm reading some scripture too, and the Lord says, we're walking into the glory. It's now time for you to inherit your gold and silver, right? And so, and I'm like, does Trump even know what does he really know? I mean, he's like prophetically speaking, and does he not realize it, that we're kind of going into some glory days, right? And we're in a golden era, but be careful being in this golden era, because this means that we have the time now to go back and try to eradicate all the wrong and get us back as a country of law and order, under God, one nation under God, and try to get rid of all the wrongs and do right. We have the opportunity. This is the only opportunity the Lord is going to give us. There's no more, Chris.
I'll agree with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really believe that. That's kind of where I'm at with that, and I feel like the Lord gave us some insight in what his expectations were and are, and here we are. And so it's up to us as the body of Christ to do what we need to do, and also hold our elected officials very much accountable, because there is no more time. There's no more time. That you don't get a second chance and a third chance. You've had second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chances. This is it. So we have, as harsh as this is, Chris, of mass deportations, families being deported, whatever, it's going to have to be done, because, again, breaking the law is breaking the law, and we have to go back and we have to fix all of the wrongs. And we're not saying that we don't want these people ever to come back. In fact, I'm even willing to, and I've actually sat down with Democrats and spoken about this, and said, I'm willing to help advocate or champion with Democrats and Republicans and independents and libertarians coming together and literally calling for our people to self-deport if they possibly can. But advocating and maybe working with some legislators to say, look, if we can get some people to self-deport, because they're running in fear anyway, like that somebody's going to come knock on their door. If they have the means to self-deport, could they potentially get some kind of assurance that if they do self-deport, they will be the first in line to come back to our country legally, right? The right way, with some type of reform in immigration that doesn't allow them to have to wait 10 years and spend $50 million to try to get back, right? It's ridiculous. We've got to streamline it so that we do get people to come back into the workforce that we need, right? There's essential workers that we need that can come from all countries, right? But they have to come here the right way, the legal way. Right. And it'll eliminate, I tell people all the time, I'm like, do you really like living under this rock that you don't have real rights, that you get taken advantage of for wages because you're not legally here? Like, wouldn't you want to come here legally?
That's a great question.
Yeah, and work and not feel the pressure that someone's going to come and get you one day, or that you're going to, you've lived under this rock and pressure. I've spoken to a lot of people who have become, permanent residents, gotten green cards, visas, that have had to go back to their country, waited to get their stamp of approval to come back. They've gone and done it the legal way. And when they come back, they tell me, they said, you have no idea the burden lifted off of our shoulders. Like, I don't think anyone can imagine what that feels like, because we don't have to look over our shoulder anymore. And I said, so then what's so wrong about having to potentially be deported or self-deport to come back the right way, so you don't have to have this burden on your shoulder?
And I'm with you there, and I want to interject a few things. There's a lot to unravel what you've said, and I agree with everything you're saying, and I get, because I think you've answered my question where the Latino community stands with this, because it is an issue, and the left hijacks the humanity thing. I remember when Bush Jr. even was trying. He didn't do a good job at doing it, but he did try. People don't remember this about Bush Jr. There was a little period of time that Bush Jr. tried to get some of this started, because Clinton had basically not cared, and then Obama for 8 years. I mean, and Obama was saying some of the same language that Trump is saying, that, you know, it's when a Democrat says that it's okay, when the Republican says that he's the Antichrist and the devil. But this thing about Jesus and people believing that it's inhumane to mass deport, and I think Tom Holman set the stage. He set the tone for it when that idiot reporter, I don't know if it was 60 Minutes or one of the networks, asked him, they said, well, don't you realize that mass deportation is going to separate families? And he said, no, it won't, not a bit. He said, we can deport the families all at one time.
We can deport the families, yeah.
But let me tell you, this is what is horrible about that whole question. She should have asked the question like this: Mr. Holman, how about the families that were separated by these illegals that kill people? You know, Dan Glovac, a good friend of mine, his son was driving down the streets of San Antonio, Texas, or Houston, actually, near your town. And one day, just out of the clear blue, some guy pulls up beside him, an illegal alien, puts a gun outside the window, blows his head right off in the middle of the day. Do you not think that was a separated family? I've got a dear friend, Chris Story, in North Carolina, lost her brother to a drunk driver. I've got some friends right here in Knoxville, Tennessee, the Cochran family. Their son got killed by a drunk driver. All illegals that never saw justice for what they did. Never.
Never.
Are they not separated families? And
That's right.
And the way I look at it, Bianca, this thing, and I think that it cannot be stated too much. You come in here illegally. Number one, you are not a citizen. Number two, you've got no rights. We don't know you a blanking thing. Number four, if you are deported, it's not our fault. It's not Tom Holman's fault. It's not the Department of Homeland Security's fault. It's not Pete Hegseth's fault. It's your fault. You come in here illegally, you're going to pay a price for it. And I will say this, my friend. Orlando is down there in that Rio Grande Valley near McAllen, which is, and he took me one day. We went about 5 minutes across the Mexican border to show he went as far as we could go without getting in trouble. And I thought about it. If me and him got out of the car that day without a passport, without a visa, and I said, hey, I like it down here, Orlando. I like this Mexican terrain. I like these mountains and whatever. I'm just going to stick around here. I'm not going back to America. Let me tell you what's going to happen to Chris McDonald is caught without a passport and without a visa in Mexico. You know what's going to happen to Chris McDonald? You will never see me again, because I'm going to probably wind up in a Mexican jail or worse, and there will be no more Chris. No. And you know what the thing is, Bianca? They won't deport me back to America. They will try me in Mexico as an illegal and an intruder. We're the only.
If you go read the Mexican Constitution, they have harsh immigration laws if you're an illegal. Harsh. We are the only country that has been really giving, very flexible, and has turned a blind eye. And it's weird to the point where it's like, that's it, no more. That's it. People took advantage of it, and no more. And so it is what it is. I mean, it is a tough thing, but sorry, not sorry. And Chris, these demonstrations with these kids running around waving Mexican flags didn't do them any justice. They got no sympathy from America at all. In fact,
Come on.
Fired on them. There is TikTok videos of people in Mexico.
I'm glad you asked that, because I was going to ask you that.
Oh, no, There's videos of people in Mexico calling them out, saying, how dare you fly our flag in America? You're not over here in Mexico. You have not fought for our country. You don't know what we've been through over here. You don't know the oppression that you don't know the socialist country that we're living in. You don't know what it's like to live in Mexico. How dare you take our flag and run it around in another country? They were livid. Then you had Mexican people that were making Spanish-speaking videos that are American, right? They were either a Mexican descent or born in Mexico and have become citizens. They were making videos and they were outraged, telling these people, and Chris, they were not nice. No. They were like, you are stupid, you're ignorant, and you make us look bad, and you're a rodent who needs to crawl back under your rock. They were not nice. So, Chris, this completely backfired on them. And, I said, I don't know who, somebody organized it. It was not organic. Somebody paid them to go out, cause a stink, and then cause it to viral out so other people will go to the street. These people were paid. There's paid activists that were paid to get these started. But this is where I'm like, are you dumb? Does nobody have a brain? Because first of all, what would work if you all had a brain is if you really do care about staying in the United States, if you really care about not being deported with your family, then you get yourself an American flag, you run around and you do your little protest with your American flag, and you say, President Trump, we have a message for you. We love this country. We don't want to go back. Work with us. We're voiceless. No one has helped us ever in decades. Everybody is taking advantage of us. We love this country. We work here. We go to school here. We don't know anything else. We don't want to be deported. Someone help us. And they raised the American flag and staked it down. Tell me that the public in America, because we have compassion. But if they went with that type of message and pled to the American people, I think that the American people would put pressure and say, hey, Congress, you need to do something about this, and they don't all deserve to be deported. These people do love this country and don't want to be deported. But the fact that you had the audacity to wave another country's flag where you've not lived and were not born in, okay, was a slap in the face. And so all it did was say, you know what, I don't feel any sympathy for you, and if you should be deported. I hope they have facial recognition, and I hope Tom Homan does send ICE and deport you to teach you a lesson. You want to go wave your flag, go wave it in your own country. Bingo. Because you got no sympathy from us. And I would go as far as, if you were born in this country to illegals, then you should be stripped of your citizenship.
Without a doubt.
Have a birthright citizenship here. You should be stripped and deported with your family, because that is what happens when you don't appreciate the country that has afforded you to live here, earn off here, and be educated here with our tax dollars.
You want to...
That's it. That's Chris. Yeah. So that is where we're at right now. It got no sympathy from anybody. Nobody. It backfired from not just Mexicans that live here. It backfired even from people in Mexico that said, shame on you. Do not fly that flag. You don't even know what it's like to live in Mexico. And so that was profound, and that was a huge message. So, you know what? And they're the only ones that did this. I'm like, first of all, do y'all now realize that it wasn't Mexico? It was like maybe 30% less maybe less than 30% of people that were coming from Mexico. There was 180 other countries that were coming in with an open border. So why are the other countries? Where are the Afghanistans? Where are the Haitians? Where are the Indians? Where was it? I didn't see anybody else flying any other flags other than the Mexican flags. Why Mexico? But you know what this does is this sends another message, Chris. The optics of this is all illegals are Mexican.
That's very true. Well, it's good stuff. And now, if I run for president in 28, will you be my vice president? Because I'm going to put you either vice president or over Homeland Security with that kind of attitude. I think you're hitting a home run. We're running out of time.
Hey,
listen, I do want to. You would do it.
I asked to be, I said, if there's one job I would want. Somebody said, if there was a job you would want with the Trump administration, what would it be? And I said, border czar. But I didn't know that that's what Tom Homan was going to be. I thought Tom Homan was going to be like DHS, right? Yeah. Over ICE or something. But he became the border czar, and I was like, okay, I can't beat Tom Homan.
We don't have time tonight. I'm going to have you back on soon, like the end of this month, 1st of March, because I want to talk. Because we had a really interesting discussion before the camera came on tonight, and I want to talk about the spiritual future of the nation and Trump and some things, but I also want to talk about his cabinet and get your take on some of these picks. I'm glad you brought up the USAID thing because it's not USAID. There's been so much graft and corruption, and I'll get your take on that. I don't think that story's going away anytime soon. I do want to address one thing. You got about 2 minutes because, folks, if you got a question for Bianca, we're going to keep her here about another 10 minutes or so tonight because it's late. Even in Texas, it's late. It's late here in the East. If you got a question for her, please put it in the chat, and please keep the questions on topic. She cannot answer whether John F. Kennedy Jr. is alive or not, or whether the Lindbergh baby is been found. I had to throw that in. Like I have to rib. I'm like Trump. I don't play.
Elvis.
Or poor Elvis is alive. She can't answer. She can't answer that one. I have to. I don't play. I play rough when I play with these key folks. But listen, the story that I just want to mention to you tonight, and we're trying to verify this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask it in a hypothetical way, and I want to just make it clear to my audience. We have no proof that this is true. This is a trending story on X late tonight that the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, is being implicated tonight in his role in the attempted assassination of President Trump in Butler. Now, simple question, you got to answer this quick. If, and that's a big if, and please understand that tonight, folks, we're not accusing Josh Shapiro of anything, because we don't know, because these articles, sometimes they get put out there, and Bianca knows as well as anybody, and I do too, you got to be careful running with something, because some YouTubers had too much to drink, or some ex-writers got too much to drink, and they're wanting some likes and shares, and people get all bent out of shape, and you wind up with your tail between your legs sharing it because it turned out to be false. So we're trying to be very careful with this. But if, and that's a big if it is true, what does that do to the ramifications of the Democrat Party, Bianca? And what does that do long term? Because Josh Shapiro is governor of Pennsylvania. Do you not think that's going to blow the lid off of not just him, but does that go beyond him? I got a feeling that's going to go to a lot of folks. If Josh Shapiro, what would happen if it goes back to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden had put him up to doing that, my friend? You got treason. So, that's treason, is it not?
You do realize that Trump, one of the executive orders that he signed on the 20th, that when he was inaugurated, was that anybody who did something against the government, that treason, if you committed treason in the United States, it's automatic death penalty.
Yeah.
Why would he sign that? Why would he sign that if he didn't feel that there's something, obviously, that corrupted government officials have done? So here's the thing. Why does it shock anybody? Who killed Malcolm X? Who killed, what's his name? John F. Kennedy. Democrats. Lyndon B. Johnson ordered the hit on Kennedy to become president so that he didn't have to face criminal charges himself. So
Abraham Lincoln.
Nothing. I mean,
all of them.
Who is it? And Martin Luther King.
Same way.
Democrat. Okay, so again, Democrat. Exactly. The Democrats are the party of the assassin. They're the assassins, literally. I don't know of any Republican who's ever like done something to go and assassinate anybody. There has it. There has it. So listen, the Democrat Party is completely done. I mean, I think that they're literally, and the fact that they're trying to dig their heel in the sand and be like, oh no, we're gonna do that. It's not working. People are very turned off about it. They don't want anything to do with the Democrat Party. And yeah, Chris, to answering, if any of this is true about this whistleblower that has come forward to implicate that Josh Shapiro had something to do with it or knew knowledge of something, I think it is going to be deeper and there's going to be a big uncovering. And I think that this nation deserves.
Yeah, the truth.
Deserves justice.
Absolutely.
For all of the people that they've assassinated, they're lucky that they didn't get to assassinate because God's hand was over Trump. But here is what's going to happen. They should be held accountable for treason, and they should all receive the death penalty. No more playing around. We have to send a very strong message that this country is no longer going to run around with corruption. We're no longer going to allow things like this to happen and people get away with it. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care. Wrong is wrong, and you must be held accountable. So,
yeah.
Whoever it is and whatever it is, they need to be held accountable. And there's a long list of people, Chris, not just with the assassination attempt. There's a long list of people that have done some very bad things in this country for a very, very long time, and they need to be held accountable. Democrat or Republican. Right now, all this exposure with all this money and the corruption of money, Republicans are very quiet. They're very quiet right now. Why? Because there was committee chairs that were Republican that were signing off all these budget things.
That's very
and
true.
The omnibus bill, they all caved to the omnibus bill.
Come on, buddy.
Where was this? Nobody asked where the money was going. Did you not know that this money was being funneled?
That's a great point.
To be used against us. So these Republicans are like, don't say anything. Just shut up. Everybody shut up. Don't say nothing. Like, they're like being very quiet. Very quiet.
That's well said.
So I'm like, listen, I don't care what side of the aisle you were on. If you were part of this whole kabuki theater, you must be held accountable. And Chris, do you not remember?
I haven't heard Kabuki Theater since your Voice America days. Kabuki Theater. Go ahead.
But listen, Chris, do you recall, because I've been searching, maybe somebody in the audience remembers, there was a prophetic word, and I can't remember who said it and when it was said, but there was a prophetic word, and they said, when Jimmy Carter lies in the rotunda, the chips, it said the deep state will start to fall. So how not convenient, but coincidental? No, I don't think so. God incidents that Jimmy Carter passed away at the end of the year before the new year rang into the golden era. And it was prophesied that when Jimmy Carter laid in the rotunda, the cabal would fall.
Interesting.
So I am just thinking, could this be, Chris, the beginning of where the cabal falls? And all of this exposure, Republican or Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, I don't care what you were, if you were involved in any of this, you are going to be held accountable. Not because Trump says you're going to be held accountable, but because God said you're going to be held accountable. And God is using Trump to make things right. He wasn't the perfect person, but he had to use someone who could make these wrongs right.
That's so true. And he's not perfect, and I'm with you on that. But I will say this. What he's done in the first 3 weeks, and I have to pinch myself. We're not even talking months here. This is 3 weeks. He's done more in 3 weeks than Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, and all the rest of them. Obama did.
And George Bush and
George Bush and all of them did in 20 years. Hey, I want to just say this. I got a question for you coming out of Facebook tonight. Corey Aguilar, good to see you, Corey. And it's actually a great question, and I actually have got a similar sort of this. She says, let's see here. There was an article, she said, on an illegal who's lived here for 24 years. Why wouldn't he try to become a citizen in all these years? What obstacles are there, if any? I know what she's asking. You know, I've got a friend of mine, a dear friend. I mean, she's in her 80s, and she has workers. She turns houses, and she hires people. And one of her workers, I had breakfast with her just last week, and she was telling me that he was scared that they were coming to get him. And I asked her, I said, well, how long has he been in the country? 10 years. And I looked at her, and I said, hon, I said, she's like a mother to me. And I said, why in the world has he allowed 10 years to go by and not tried to become legal? And look, I'm not going to lay all of this at Joe Biden's feet. I'm going to lay a lot of it, but I'm not going to lay it all at his feet because, Bianca, this problem goes back to Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Obama, Bush Jr.,
But
all of them.
not Reagan, because Reagan gave him amnesty.
Reagan gave him amnesty, but the same issue, that was not good. It was not what he should have done. They should have never done that. But my point is that, and her question is excellent, why don't these people that are here illegally not get legal unless in their mind they have never been told that it's wrong to be here illegally?
No, they know it's wrong to be here illegally. There's different reasons why people do not become legal, and they're really kind of simple, honestly. First and foremost, they don't become legal because the system is very complicated. Mm-hmm. They make it very complicated. It's not an easy thing. You got to jump through all kinds of hoops. And if you do start the process, you have to be willing to go back to your country, okay, and wait for the embassy to give you your appointment to get your stamp of approval to come back. So some people could go back and they last 3 weeks. Some people will get an appointment in 6 months. Some people some people get punished by their own government for coming over here illegal, and they make them wait a year to come back. So there's different reasons. They may have left their country because somebody was trying to murder them. They were trying to run away from something, or whatever their reasons are, right? They don't want to be sent back. They don't even want to go back to their country, not even for the six weeks or 3 weeks, because they're afraid of something. That's one reason. Second reason is lawyers. Lawyers have taken advantage of immigrants, these illegal aliens. They've taken advantage of these illegal aliens, and they have promised them to help them. And these illegals have paid in 7 to 10 years of money and have never received any kind of paper, because a lawyer tells them, oh, we need to send in another piece of paper. Oh, we need another piece of paper. Oh, we need another piece of paper. And every time that they do work for you, they bill you $300, $350. So these illegals don't really have the money to continue to pay for this.
Great.
It's not an easy process. So lawyers have taken advantage of them.
Okay.
And second, the system isn't designed to make it easy for them to do it. And so I think they just stay illegal because they just feel like, okay, well, I'm illegal. And we have, as a country, and all these sanctuary cities have made it easy for them and didn't give them a reason to feel like they had to go become legal because they were in a sanctuary city. So, they could get EIN numbers, they could get jobs. What were they going to worry about?
Yeah. We got about 5 minutes, and I got another question for you. It's a good one, too. And I don't know if you got the figure. Dennis Floyd's asking tonight, how many people are in line to get here legally? Is there a quota? And I'll tell you why it's a good question. Because, when me and Orlando was down at the border last in 21, it was a memorable day. We were driving around, and he took me to a part of it was an industrial park, and it was several stands of fruit, vegetables, home goods, wares, and things like that. And he said, Chris, I want to show you this. Every single one of these booths that he showed me that day was people that had come into the country. He knew them, everyone personally. He said these people had come in here legally. He said they did the right process. They've been established citizens. They've got businesses here. He said, look at these businesses. They were nice places. They were not shacks. And we don't ever hear about the ones coming in here legally because our attention and our focus is on the illegals. And I think his question is not bad, because it would be interesting to know how many people are waiting in line, because this is the other thing about illegal immigration and illegal aliens, Bianca. It hurts the ones standing in line to get here legally, because they don't have time to process them, because they're dealing with trying to track down the fentanyl users and the pedophiles.
Well, and they get more. People who come here legally are the ones that get more upset about all the illegals.
That's very true.
And get all these benefits, and they don't get the benefits. And so, so that's a good question. I don't have the answer to it, because I don't know how many people are in line. But I do know that there's a lot of people that complain about the long wait time. They have to wait a very long time to come to the United States. So there's not a fast track
to the legal part.
way. And this is why, it's because the system's so dinosaur. With the technology that we have nowadays, Chris, it's an easy fix. There's a way to fast track and vet people to come here legally at a faster pace.
Okay.
There is. We just haven't done it because it's easier to have the illegals. And a lot of these companies in America have, listen, the Koch brothers, they're open border people. You've got some business owners here in the Houston area. They're open border people. Why? Because they're builders. They need the cheap labor. They don't want to fix the problem, so they pay the elected officials so they don't fix the problem. That's why the problem's never been fixed, because they get cheap labor. So it's not just the fault of the illegal who did it.
It's not.
It is the companies here in America
That's so true.
that supported this type of behavior for them to have cheap labor.
Yeah.
So, there is a it's called Texas Law Reform here in the Houston area. And they have been supporters of illegals for a very long time because they're home builders. And it benefits them. So they don't care. They don't care. They put in a lot of money into these elected officials. They give a lot of money, Chris, to these elected officials to get elected so that they do what they need them to do. They own them. So, there's something here in the state of Texas that when you run in the state of Texas, whether it's House rep, state rep, or any other, race, you can get unlimited funds. Unlimited. So there was a race here that was very contested in the state of Texas that was just a House rep. It was a House rep. And they spent one of the candidates spent $2 million. The other one spent another $3 million. I don't know. For a House rep that makes $600 a month during session. I mean,
that's unreal.
I'm sorry, you're no longer being a representative of your community or your constituents when you're having to spend millions of dollars to win a race that pays you $600. Are you kidding me? There's something wrong with that picture. So there needs to be caps on how much you can raise to win these if you listen, if you are running for a race that pays you $600 while you're in session a month, okay? So say you're in session, 5 months, 6 times 5, that's 6,000? Is it 6,000? Something like that. So that should be the cap. That's all you can raise is 6,000. Whatever that you're going to earn is the max that you should be able to raise for the race, period. Yeah. You shouldn't be able to be raising millions of dollars to have a position. That's how corrupt this system is in Texas. Literally. It's very corrupt.
Buddy, we are out of time. Listen, I want you to do this. I'm going to give you 1 minute, 2 minutes. Wrap us up. Tell us, everybody, about your website. I'm going to have you back on because we didn't even scratch the surface of the surface of the surface of the surface tonight. We could talk. No, it's all right. I like you because I talked too much the first show. You sort of took up the second show for me. I do want you to come back because I do want to talk to you about the spiritual aspects of Trump and what's coming.
Absolutely.
I think it's worth a discussion, and I appreciate you. You know, we go back a long way. We met at another network, but
You're my buddy.
You're my buddy, and I'm going to come see you in Texas soon, and we're going to hopefully. I do want to talk to you because I feel like I've been feeling a strong urging to go back to the border this year, and I'd like to do something with the group you're with and Orlando, and let's do something together. I know you're not doing the border feedings. I will tell you, you know, I was thinking as you were talking tonight, it was so unreal. The 2019, we went to McAllen first and then Del Rio second in August. And I remember the morale being so good. It wasn't perfect, but there was at least a sense of optimism of the border agents. But when we went in 21, and we remember that day that, you know, it was so open, we could talk to the border agents the first time. They enjoyed the food, and the second time we went, you couldn't even talk to them. You had to, we took the food in there, we had to cover it. We couldn't speak. It was like a prison. You could feel the tension in the air.
They felt like they were incarcerated.
And I'm hopefully and praying that this has gone back the other way, and they're optimistic. And I do want to do a show with you about that. Wrap us up. Final thoughts, and I'm going to let you go. I'm going to say goodnight to these people off camera. Listen, I bless you in the name of the Lord. I'm grateful to see you tonight. I really am. You don't know how much, buddy.
Thanks for having me on. You know, God bless your audience, and God bless this nation. God bless Donald J. Trump. For those that maybe had not seen me or heard me, I'm Bianca Gracia, Executive Director of Latinos for America First. And so to learn more about me, I'm known as Bianca for Texas, FOR Texas. So that you can go to my website, BiancaForTexas.com, to learn more about me and the work that I do as an activist, as well as all the other things that I do, all the other hats that I wear. I was very, very fortunate to work on the Trump Finance Committee this past year on his campaign and rolled over into the Trump-Vance Inaugural Committee. So I was on that committee, and it was an amazing opportunity that I will never, ever forget. And second, obviously, Executive Director of Latinos for America First. You can go visit us on our website at latinosforamericafirst.org and learn more about our organization and kind of go through all of our history. It's like we have just a very long history and lots of work that we've done throughout the years. And, you know, we just really, again, like I said earlier, we concentrate on education, educating our community. So, yeah, Chris, thank you so very much for having me on tonight. And, yes, I'm going to look forward to coming back.
Oh, I'll have you back. We got a lot more to talk about.
We can talk for a long time.
Me and you could get on here. We could have a 3-hour show. We ain't blinking out. Me and you run our mouth
without even blinking.
You know, without blinking. Now, you ain't going to deport me now if I come down there, right? I mean, am I rescued from being deported?
I got to say, listen, I did not threaten to deport him. I made a joke about it, but I didn't threaten to deport him.
Yes, you did. That's all right.
Really?
No, it's a joke. We were joking.
Seriously.
We were joking. No, we joked around. That's the one thing about me and Bianca. That's one thing we've always had, that friendship. We're hard on each other, but we always do it in love. We know when we say things to each other. We're brother sister. We are. Listen, hon, I love you and I appreciate you. God bless you, and I'll be in touch with you. And we will. We'll have you back on soon. This is good stuff tonight. I appreciate you giving some insight down there. And
I hope I've answered your questions, Chris. Thank you so much.
God bless. We'll be Bianca Gracia. Everybody, put some fire in that house for her. And good lady right there. She's a precious friend, and is with all friends. You know, over time, you lose contact with people sometimes, and they come back together. We had a little gap between the time that we've been able to really sit down and talk, and it was not really any negative stuff. It was just Bianca's a busy lady. She's a popular lady in Texas. She ran for office, and very close to the Trump people, very close to the Trump campaign. And we first met on Your Voice America, and when that network dissolved and went into the oblivion of the sky for good reason, we stayed in touch, and Bianca was actually one of the first casualties off that network. It was sort of hard. I hate to bring up past miseries, but she had a program on there, and they cut her loose. Probably was the beginning of the end for that network. But anyway, we stayed in touch, and we've been friends ever since. That's going on 7 years now. She was with me at the start when the show started, and as with all friendships, we stayed in touch for a while, and after the 21 situation, we just lost contact for a while, but never lost friendship or care for each other as friends and brothers and sisters. And I appreciate her tonight. And we appreciate you being here. I've got a lot more to say, but it's late. I'm going to save it for tomorrow night. We've got Brad Johnson coming in here. We're going to have an earlier show tomorrow night at 8. We normally are on at 9. We had 7 o'clock tonight and 10. We got double headers because we wanted to get Ricky on this month, and with some things going on, I wouldn't want to risk her not coming on. So we got her on tonight. And then tomorrow night, Brad Johnson will be with me. He's going to speak a lot to what I was going to really share with you tonight, some things, and he's tracking down some things for us. And James Akers will be with me one night this week. Magdalene Rose will probably call in Thursday night. We got a brand new guest, Christiane Watts. She is running for Congress in Texas against Dan Crenshaw. We're going to talk about the rhino factor. I'm glad Bianca brought something up, and I'd not really thought about this until she said it tonight. We don't need to let these Republicans off the hook about this budget stuff and about this U.S. aid. A lot of these Republicans sit by with a blind eye and let it happen. Some of this stuff could have been stopped. And I think that there's some accountability that's going to have to come on both sides of the aisle. We can't just lay all this at the Democrats. And I know that's the common statements right now and the postings and the things. These evil Democrats did this. Yeah, the evil Democrats did it, but don't just lay it on their doorstep. There's a lot of gatekeepers that winked an eye and gave them a wink to do it. And that's sort of what we're going to be talking with Christiane about Thursday night. And she is going to be a great new guest. We're looking forward to it. And I got another guy. He's agreed to come on. He's versed about the land of Israel. And hopefully the following week we're going to get him on one night. He'll be a brand new guest. We got some other new guests coming this year. Mark White will be with me Monday night on our Face Chat. You don't want to miss Mark. He's a man of God. He has always been anointed when he comes on praying for us, and you're going to enjoy him. He's been on one time before, and he's going to do a good job for us Wednesday night, and then Christiane Thursday night. I don't know what we're going to do Friday night yet. That's like an eternity on this show between Monday night and Friday night. The world could end for all we know, but hopefully not. Listen, I appreciate you being out there with us tonight. I'm just going to check the chat room. If you enjoyed our poll, we asked tonight, do you agree with the mass deportations for all illegals? We had 24 of you vote, and 96% to 4 that said yes. And Annabelle, thank you. Bianca was. Her understanding of the situation is very admirable. She's a good lady and a good friend. It's good to see you tonight, all of the rest of you. We appreciate you being here tonight and so forth. And I'm just scouring the chat to see if we've got any comments. And we appreciate you all being with us tonight. Facebook as well. Good to see y'all. Roger Hooker says legal immigration is good for America. Documented seasonal workers are good for America. Just my opinion. Roger, they are, but right now, honestly, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'm going to tell you this right now. They need to be legal. They need to be legal. They need to be legal, number one. Number two, with the way that the country is right now, with this influx of millions and tens of millions of people that are here illegally, I think right now Trump has got... He's not done it this time. He tried to do it the first time when he stopped immigration from other countries coming in. And his purpose then was to get a handle on illegal immigration. And he really didn't have somebody with some teeth as his borders are in 2016. Trump was wet behind the ears in 2016. I noticed he hadn't done that this time because he knows the courts will fight him. They're fighting him tonight on a lot of stuff. He's been threatened with jail tonight by this Obama judge that has basically told him that he is going to start the funding back from the USAID or he'll go to jail. And that's a joke. Pam Bondi's going to probably step in and put a stop to that. But we'll see about that. But anyway, I just think right now, at least for the time being, your point's well taken, but for the time being, I don't think we need to be letting anybody in here right now. until we get a handle on who's here and who ain't. We still don't know that. I think we're getting closer with Tom Homan. But Tom's got his hands full with this. I'm telling you, this is not some easy task. I think the man's done miraculous. Tom Homan, Trump, all of them, the whole cabinet's done some miraculous things. You people in North Carolina, I heard Kristi Noem say last night, 80%. In just 3 weeks, 80% of all cases in North Carolina related to Hurricane Helene have been handled. Families have been restored in just 3 weeks. Think about that. 80%. That's a lot. There was a lot of families displaced by Hurricane Helene. You still, just 10 miles up the road from me, when you split, you go 81 northeast, go to Washington and Virginia and all that area up in there. But you go east on 40, you cannot go east yet. That road is still closed into North Carolina. And you literally have to go all the way around and come south from Johnson City to get there now. And there's still so much damage and so many dangerous areas in that region from a hurricane that hit back in August. So it's admirable what this current administration's doing. I just think, Roger, right now, until we get a handle on what we got in here, I wouldn't let anybody in here. I see your point. But anyway, God bless you out there. Thank you all for being with us tonight. I'm just trying to see if there's any other comments. Debbie says, enjoyed the show. Annabelle, good night to you. Thank you. Peggy Cornish, thank you. Diana Garza, good to see you. We got some fire in the house. John Quallam, good to see you. Carol Smith. And BiancaForTexas.com is her website. And we're grateful for that. And we hope that everybody's had a good night tonight. And double feature. I'm a little tired. I've got some video I was going to play, but I'm not going to do it tonight. We're going to let you go. It's late in the East. I will see you back here in the morning on our face side for our Bible study. Got a lot to talk about. And then tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Brad Johnson, former CIA operative. And I will say this. Be sure you're here tomorrow night because Brad's going to be under the knife in March. He's going in for surgery, so we're not going to be able to have him for quite a while. So tomorrow night will be the last time you'll see Brad until April. So please be with us tomorrow night. Support him. He's got a lot to say about what's going on in the country. And James Akers will be with us too. So God bless you. God bless your families. And God bless this great nation of America. Did you enjoy the show tonight? I thought both shows were outstanding. And we're grateful that you've been here tonight. Your host loves you. We appreciate you. May God bless this great nation of America, folks. We've got a lot more to say about stuff that's going on right now. But we'll save it for a rainy day. God bless you out there. Have a good night, everybody. Get some rest. In the East, you folks in the West, you're going to still be up for a while. But that's all right. We're grateful that you're here tonight with us. Have a good night, everybody. See you back here in the morning. Good night.